I think there was a Washington Post article that came out saying that men in their 30s are having less sex than ever before, in history. And I think it was framed as, and forgive me, but I'm paraphrasing, it was like framed as they're not having enough sex or not having as much sex as they would like to have, and the number has gone down dramatically over the past few decades. And so obviously that study came out, and I was reading that, and the first thing I thought was like, well, you don't know how much people are having sex. You know how much people told you they're having sex. That's the first thing. But even if it is true, it was interesting to see the conversations that came afterwards, because then some people were saying, this is why we need to have a right to sex in this country. You need to have a right to sex. No, and I think it got, that's why I say bad branding. I think what some people were saying was, we need to decriminalize sex work in America and in the world because we've created these structures that now make people ashamed, and that conversation, I don't even think I'm, close to being qualified to speak on. I think sex workers have actually started many great conversations around how they think the industry should be formalized and changed. I found it interesting how the framing always talks about men and sex alone. No, but it never talks about two things. One, very seldom in society do we talk about how the expectation of sex was often set by a society controlled by men, and women were just subject to it, And as that has changed, you would hope that now the dynamics would change. But it also makes it seem so one-dimensional. They go like, women, men aren't having the sex that they want to have or wish to have. And I go like, how much sex do they think they're supposed to have? Let's start there. Secondly, do they think they're entitled to the sex? And third, and most importantly for me, and I really feel like we don't speak about this enough, is people don't realize how often men are experiencing a lack of intimacy. And the only place that they can experience that intimacy is through sex. We've created a society where men are so afraid to be vulnerable with each other, to be sensitive with each other, to care for each other, to love each other. Even saying that as a guy, you always have to change and be like, you can't just say, I love you. You have to be like, I love you, dog. You know what I mean? You got to throw it, like you can't just say it. And it's interesting because that is where I do feel women have done a much better job of being there intimately for each other. Not sexually, but intimately. And I think we take for granted how much in society men who say sex is the thing they're not getting are actually struggling with a lack of companionship, of intimacy, of being in a space with a person where they're sharing, everything from serotonin to endorphins to what humans need to feel,